Hello, welcome back to the readings of the Funk Treatise 5th edition. Today we have Jamey D. Franklin going to be reading pages 191 to 200, which will put us about a third of the way through uh, the 5th edition. I am a little sick today. I've got some allergies, and so you may experience some coughing, some sneezing, uh, even some sniffles occasionally. Who knows? Anything goes. Anything can happen. Oh, getting blurry. What if I do this? Is it gonna mess you up? Okay. Um. All right. Without further ado, once again, Jamey, thank you for reading, being a part of this, and sharing your thoughts. So, without further ado, let us begin.
Hello, my name is Jamey Franklin. I will be reading pages 191 through 200 of Sean Penabler's Funk Treatise 5th edition. And today is 22nd of October, 2024.
It is Penalber, but not many people get that right. So, if I had a dollar for every time someone mispronounced Penalber, eventually people would start calling me sir.
Scroll back here. On 12/9/2019 at 2:30 a.m.,
This is just more continuing thought.
you posted a link to the YouTube video for Gary Newman's Cars. Last night, while performing within a comedy sports improv show, we all connected together across time from this song and how it made us feel, and were able to then relate to it and expand from it to make it entertaining for an audience and each other. And we were together singing it, enjoying it, dancing to it, and laughing together in an amazingly observable pattern of connection. Yes, I perform and study improv. It is a study of patterns, communication, and being present. And I find that fascinating, as the better you get at it and how to apply it to life, you are able to relate and use every past experience to every new experience coming into that moment of active group communication and constructive learning. I absolutely agree with that. I love comedy and stand-up comedy for that reason very much. Also like improvisational music. Those two things and ideas are definitely connected, and once you see the patterns in one genre or one art form, you kind of just see it everywhere.
The frequency illusion.
Improv is not
Allegedly.
simply about being funny, though by pattern it also is when subjectively making you laugh, but it is also the moments in between or leading up to those enjoyable moments of entertainment and reviews of. It's about being present and expanding from that presence. Imagine you are experiencing entertainment in an infinite expansion of genres in an infinite library of storage. I am suggesting that we are now experiencing those points in the funk, as well as seemingly to have not quite yet, and we are still on the edge of our seat. But we are also calm or neutral in that moment because we know that we are still comfortable, or at some point we were or will be returning to that sense of comfort where you can relax again in your chair or whatever gravity, no gravity, or time pulls you towards. You are constantly in between all imaginable and unimaginable states. Heart. Your colleague, Anonymous, says, woo, 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 yeah, 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 woo, woo, yeah, yeah, funk time, woo, woo, yeah, 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 which I also wholeheartedly agree with and find that to be a very astute assessment of your post.
Woo yeah! Funk time.
At 3:04 a.m. on 12/9/2019,
This is still
observably
just expanding thought.
by pattern, every time I go to share this information with you, a captcha related to cars, or vehicles, or where we live, or are, or sometimes sounds, appears to test us, and much is learning from it. And with each additional digit entry and solution, we are achieving the next point in CAPTCHA testing and algorithm advancement. Our attempts to share can be seemingly difficult to share to a large group, but now it is not, and over time will be more attainable, intersectional, and achievable, unless manipulated. I mean, that seems inevitable. Earlier in the history of the internet, we used to teach these CAPTCHAs to read words, and now they read much more through our assistants. Oddly enough, as a way to prove that we are not a program taking advantage of influential resources, even though we technically are. That's also totally true. With time, observation of random number generation, we as performers can increasingly connect to the energy and influence flowing through the funk, like power through a cord, or Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth capabilities, and so on from this experience, or so on from this. And our experience within the funk, and we are seeing that clear, lengthy, fourth dimensional spime that was leading Donnie through the movie, as it also graphs us. I am not sure what that is referring to. Please forgive my ignorance there.
That's fine.
But because it was just an idea, we are and were only able to see that spime.
It's fine.
Again, forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
You had it right.
Spime?
Yeah, that's it.
As a collection of 2D frames of 3D objects portrayed through life and video. Hypothetically, an advanced form of this would be a directionally graphed 4D and beyond map of data that you can smell, taste, touch, hear, see, and beyond. In some way, of personal selfish and selfless experience and perspective. Brackets say, so basically a replicated or simulated version of reality. Yeah, but what if that's programmed into the simulation for you to say that? Nah? All right. This is a living still frame of that loop of information. And we now have more and less of it in some major balance of time and knowledge and data influence. It expands and expands, and it keeps expanding. Your colleague Anonymous says, rock on.
That was me responding to the person saying, woo yeah, fuck time. And then we have further continued thought.
Not quite sure what to make of that exactly. I imagine there's more context, so I'm going to try to get to that. Again, forgive my not knowing the movie reference that you're referring to. Your next post was at 3:05 on 12/9/2019, 3:05 a.m. You post a link to Hot Chip, the Wikipedia page. It's one of my favorite musical groups since I came across them during their second album, The Warning, which you post a link to. They, as a musical group, as well as many others, resonate with me so hard that I, at times, can feel what they produce inside of myself, across my entire body. At times their sounds give me goosebumps, or an internal feeling of high, or intoxication, or frisson. A feeling I would describe as experiencing the full connection with the funk. And we each, within the funk, are that loop, and are each individual molecule, or atom, or quark, or units, or Planck monads behind, or of Planck monads behind, a part and ahead of the funk. And when we, it's a very apt description there, very detailed. And when we feel that full body experience, that is what I suggest us to be a glimpse of our experience of the whole funk. It is present and grounding. It is a present and grounding feeling of reality. Many things cause this experience for each of us. I am just using Hot Chip as a personal example. Heart.
And I'm sure each of you can slightly at least relate, because again, maybe not everyone, because we all have our own abilities and disabilities and everything. But when you, I'm sure that listening to music at some point, you've experienced this feeling of just like this deep resonation that you just feel this full body. And frisson is kind of this like tingle, those like the goosebumps tingle when like you're experiencing this like deep moment of resonation, you know, within music, or even if you're just like watching TV or something like that. These moments can just come up where like you just feel these like funk tingles. Because again, you're feeling the body. You're feeling reality.
Footnote: on May 30th, 2022, several members of Hot Trip attributed, you might mean contributed, to drop.
I have changed that since then. So yes, it did say attributed. Now it does say contributed. Thank you, Jamie, for the spelling correction.
Book number 63. Hey, I love the draw book. That's fucking awesome. Right on, man.
Thank you.
Personally an honor to have connected closer to such an influential group. That's so cool. Love y'all.
I believe Jamie was actually one of the first people to draw in the original draw book. If I'm not mistaken, he might have even been there that night of the very first book opening. Which, again, thank you, Jamie, for being a part of.
That's great, man. One of the coolest things I've ever experienced is when you really connect with an artist or a band or something, and you actually meet them, and they're as cool as the music you like. And it's kind of a tragedy when it goes the other way. There's the saying, "Don't meet your heroes," has some reason behind it, but. Some of my favorite people are artists are actually just really good people who want to connect with you, and I love it when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But again, thank you to Hot Chip. It was wonderful meeting you. I got to meet everyone but Felix, who was out being a father, and Al, who just took too long to come out of the video before I had to leave. But with all that, Al, if you're listening, Felix, if you're listening, I'd love to have y'all a part of that at some point if y'all are touring again. And Joe, I still would like to work together. We talked a little bit on Instagram. That will the future will decide what happens there.
I feel that way about a lot of my friends here, actually. I mean, I've been here for a long time, and almost all the friends I've acquired here in Houston are people that I've met through going to art shows and music shows, and just people who like the art and music that I like. And I don't know, it's definitely huge. I get what you're saying here in the general sense, for sure. All right. Next is you post links to the Two Bears on Wikipedia and an album of theirs, and it keeps expanding. Imagine the funk as a car and everything within it to be driving through everything outside of it. We are the cars driving, the pilots driving them, and the realities that they experience or interact with and or influence. Now imagine the entirety of history is on YouTube. And as we are traveling in our car, you watch this video of our observable events and the glitches and evolutions resulting behind it, and how to relate to it, to the information, or how to relate to, and how to relate it to the information calculated from all that advanced learning to get to the idea, or to get to the idea of car, to understand this moment. Heart. Resonating closer yet?
So what I mean by that is, like, imagine that you could just watch all of reality, or even a sped up version of like everything it took to get to the exact moment of what you're doing right now. And now that we're in this state where almost everything is being kind of recorded in this now digital panopticon, who's to say that eventually we might not be able to do that to some point, from this point, especially because now we have a greater ability to save memory and data and recording moments and everything. And that's only going to get better until it can't, doesn't, won't, etc.
Let me see those versions of your hearts, or personal appreciations, or lack of. Confirm and disprove the funk, as it is you, and before and after ourselves and everything. Continue confirming and disproving to progressively experience our observable and applicable and enjoyable and greater influential patterns of influence. And is saved right here at this moment by Control S. Either do or do not learn to recognize the patterns and how to make sure I, each other, and everything to exist and not exist more clearly by understanding that you, by chance, and also no mistake or chance of existence through random number event generation, do so by influence of the event, much like the double slit experiment, and observing and or existing within the moment. Link to the Wikipedia for the double slit experiment. Observation of time and event and also existence within and without it has inevitable influence. Heart. Wow. You say things that are very all-encompassing.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of that Mitch Hedberg thing. I gotta stop saying totally. I'm gonna start saying all-encompassingly. No, you seem to cover the entire spectrum of all types of experience of, I presume, this music and stuff that you're discussing kind of specifically in this very cosmic general way that like applies to everything and nothing at the same time. There's a lot of back forth negation in the dialogue that does make it a little challenging to kind of follow the sentences sometime as I'm just reading it out loud. I mean, if you were saying this to me, I would totally get it. Like reading it is definitely different than hearing your friend like say it to your face, where there's tone and pause and intonation and stuff. So,
Correct.
but I'm not going to like harp on little grammatical things here. I'm just trying to get the bigger ideas.
Which I already see you getting, and you've only read a few. Like, you're like one page in, really, which is wonderful. And so again, it just further continues more fun. Heart on that.
Okay. At 3:17 a.m. On 12/9/2019, you write, every musician, artist, celebrity, individual, or beyond fibers of metaphysical being relate to each other through the existence of each other. That's totally true. Existence happened, then eventually music happened, and eventually you happen, and the members of your favorite band from the musical group you love, then those members and yourself and the relations behind them and their existences, including and excluding yourself, myself, and ourselves, have now interconnectedly, by experience of existence, led to our current state of being, and is such leading to now and beyond. Reality evolved to this moment. That's absolutely true. Every single thing that ever happened in the entire existence of the universe, the end result of that is right now.
Yeah, he gets it. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, my back still hurts. When you observe living life, like humans, ants, birds, squids, etc., things that make observable conscious, unconscious, or subconscious decisions and then somehow breed offspring or their knowledge of existence off of the event from itself and the knowledge of past, present, and future to offspring or their surroundings, and then take care of the offspring or surroundings until it cannot. But by then, hopefully, the offspring can take care of providing and assisting greater influence to yourself, itself, and surroundings, and preserve its quantum RAM of within, and without through these loops. Eventually the parent is gone, but still in the memories of the children and the further offspring. And with each further offspring, the once existing parent becomes more and more distant and non-relative or unnecessary to the current version of the distant future offspring it once produced, as a form of advanced learning and evolution. We can now further understand the effect of Dadaism, Neo-Dadaism, or not, and the equal and opposite resulting actions of, and are currently observing, the Matrix-Keanu Neo-Dadaism, or not, one word, and anti-Matrix-Keanu Neo-Dadaism, or not, that once came before us, and is currently expanding to become more and more relevant and non-relevant than ever. There's that duality thing. I can tell you are a fan. The ideas of access to this matrix and the complications and events of influence it brings, and also the next achieved quantum version of flight.
Less a fan of non-duality, but more awareness that how it affects us, how much it influences us, how things kind of sometimes appear as this duality, right? But funk is beyond duality. Yeah.
Okay. The exponential result of random number generation and the observation, experience, and collection of data came to be able to be described or related as a matrix between you, as a matrix and you and I, and collection of data came to be able to be described or related as a matrix, and you and I, in a version of simultaneous Morpheus, Neo, Matrix, and beyond, fiction and nonfiction, are presenting Neo with the blue or red pill. And then the movie or that reality and story happens within and without that time. Well, okay. Eventually we are able to watch or experience the reality of the Matrix. So we see the existence of story within our reality, okay, and has its influence on us. And now we to the future from itself, there might be a word missing there, of itself and outer self. And within the funk matrix, Keanu Neo-Dadaism or not, and the anti-funk matrix, Keanu Neo-Dadaism or not. When you add a or not to the one thing and then say anti that, it's like 4 negations. That seems a little redundant. And the results between and beyond them, and we are now calculating and influencing the next variables of.
Because, again, this is not something that is necessarily supposed to make sense, but you get the idea. You're supposed to interpret it in your own way, kind of like an art piece or a painting and everything. It's not exactly solvable, but it also kind of is, which we will naturally do. And I'm sure in the TLDR, we'll see how ChatGPT interprets that. Or not.
Heart. Okay. At 3:37 a.m. Again, little grammatical things. You know, you're writing a lot of this at 3 in the morning at in the middle of December. So I don't know what the month has to do with that, but I'm also a night person, so maybe you're like at peak time right here. I have no idea.
Yes, again, at the time, my work hours were like 5 to midnight or 6 to midnight, something like that. And so then I would basically just work and do art or write, work on the treatise or whatever I wanted until basically 7 a.m. And then I would sleep until like 1 or 2 and then do it all again. And I really enjoyed it.
Okay, you write, what if you take neither the red nor blue pill, or consume both? Or if you tap on the couch cushion, and there's an Easter egg that gives you the ability to exist omnipotently and omnipresently through everyone and everything simultaneously. I guess that would be God. Or somebody cooler. Or there's a dope secret pill of indescribable color that leads to what was once the hidden gem of information that is now before you. Every choice or choice of choice or choice of non-choice or non-choice of non-choice, that's a Punnett square of choices, must be chosen and experienced to happen and inevitably exist for that knowledge and influence of information and experience to then be eventually known and referred back to again whenever wanted or needed to be accessed or expanded. If you experience sadness or overwhelming of the ideas of past observable death, or any length of time between scary, sad, suffering, or uninteresting ideas to you in the collection of these loops, then that is your drug and what makes you feel yourself within the greater our self of the funk. So what color or flavor loop would you like? They taste fruity, and they feed you feelings, so experience your bowl of Kellogg's today. Link to the Wikipedia page for Fruit Loops. Hey, Toucan Sam, shout out.
Follow your nose.
That guy knew what was up. Part of this nutritious breakfast. Which, expanding on Fruit Loops, and the storage of information of, have we not recently influenced ourselves across the internet about the Mandela effect and false memory? Wikipedia link to false memory. And revealed to ourselves that this phenomena of misremembering RAM of Fruit Loops, as we also recognize the same pattern through the Berenstain Bears theory. Yeah, that's weird. Link to that YouTube. Over this amount of time since the creation of these things, only like 10, 15 years, a little more than that in the Berenstain Bears case, but still, yes, it is a short time. And we are already experiencing that phenomena of false memory and the effects, expansions, and evolutions of the Mandela effect. Mandala and then Mandela, also a thing. The mandala, like the ring, but it's also, yeah, that's cool. Eventually, with all forms of event random number generation within the funk, it's going to continue happening or not happening unless there's access to records of proof. Loop.
I, I don't know why I'm feeling compelled to share this, but the other day I could not remember what the Mandela effect was called, and I was making a joke, and so I just called it the Michelangelo effect, which I think made the joke even funnier at the time, because of that false memory kind of thing, and how information changes. There's a really interesting Black Mirror episode on the newest season. Um, I don't really want to spoil it for you, but essentially, um, I'll talk beyond the episode so it doesn't really spoil things. But like, let's say something was changing reality, right? Like, let's say something was. It's what's a like if my shirt, right? We all know it has these eyeballs on it and everything. But if suddenly in another reality, if our reality changed to where this shirt was yellow, we most likely would just never remember that. We wouldn't be like, wait, wasn't that shirt eyeballs? Um, it would just kind of blend naturally into it, and you would never really know. Um, and so there could be these glitches or phenomena happening, but we would never know um, because reality would have adjusted itself to not really remember itself. But who knows? Maybe some people would still remember those faint memories of uh, that's causing the Mandela effect in a way.
Footnote on March 18th, 2023. The guy who betrays Neo in the Matrix does it for the chance to taste a real steak, as opposed to the simulated taste of a simulated steak. But is there ever really a way to know what truth is? Every quest is just another expansion of a branching fractal loop. That's totally true. I think about that shit all the time. I mean, our experience of one thing is completely different than someone else's, even though, like, we know it's the same thing, it's the same steak. But is it? Like, we don't know. We don't know. And the fun of existence, I think, is just trying to learn about stuff like this, to understand sensation, to understand, the relationship between things, the relationship between experiences, and, people, and the experiences of people. It's the coolest thing about being alive. We only get to do this for a short amount of time. Yeah, and that's your next leading into this. Great segue. But aren't loops fun? Like on a roller coaster? Or boring, like experiencing a seemingly never-ending loop? Or music and sound created on Fruity Loops. That's a great program. Those guys have done it right. Or gluing Fruit Loops to a popsicle stick for our family, friends, self, or stranger, and the metaphysical strings that connect it all. Our future experience is now all of that simultaneously existing while also experiencing all of itself as it moves through time. And I am now further transcribing these patterns and experience as they and it are revealed to me, you, us, and not me, you, and us. And it is at these points of constant experience of changing quantum states and forever connected to that connection and can never exist in a disconnection from it as you are here experiencing it right now. And that proves these moments will never not be. And given enough time, everything and nothing will happen. A beyond synapses and mitosis, and the result of experience, effort, and observation, or lack of, and the influence it has on everything and nothing. Heart. This is very, kind of Taoist, where I kind of get and combination of that and maybe existentialism and a little bit of, I don't know, something else I can't quite place at the moment.
It's a little bit of everything. It's funk, and I think he's formulating that.
This type of like kind of duality, non-duality, just back and forth, like no matter what you say can be negated and vice versa, because we don't really know anything. So like no assertion is ever 100% true. No negation is ever 100% false. It's kind of fun wordplay, which is infinite, which I definitely appreciate.
Thanks.
At 3:51 a.m. the same day, you write, so now we are driving our vehicles within the greater vehicle of the funk, and any vehicles we exist within beyond, which is still the funk. We are together behind the wheels as driver, GPS, backseat passenger, our luggage, pedestrians, and the environment we are moving through, and we are driving around reality, both with it, from it, and without it. Fuck yeah, us! Hey, I'll drink to that. Let's keep expanding and continue to closer study and research the closer connections of this understanding and selfishly and selflessly check our levels of dismissal and acceptance towards these events across the evolutions and existences of the funk. Right, left, forward, backwards, up, down, diagonally, interdimensionally, beyond, and etc. You have a choice within the greater connections to the beyond, universal influences and patterns of the funk. And hopefully you now further comprehend or understand after however long of time you have invested towards this, and the ideas that we can now more availably observe, interpret, and share, these connections and the further potential abilities to connect with and through the funk and influence all of time and or the funk simultaneously. The funk, me, equals and doesn't equal the funk you, which equals and doesn't equal not the funk, which equals and also doesn't equal this suit is black not. Very nice, Borat. A branch of our existing being within and without the funk. Okay. The funk created Borat, which that's totally true. A lot of people don't know that. The funk created Borat. Yep. The funk created Borat, and the funk inside and outside of that equation now knows what Borat and the funk mean to each other, how it has come to reach those connections and creations of, and the now forever processing of how Borat is influencing the part of itself, this part of itself, and how every variation of Borat or lack of Borat is influencing the multiverse. Brackets. And how eventually Borat will become so distant that it could be forgotten to have ever happened, but will still be a part of that future's construction to its happening because it happened. Apply that information however you feel necessary, as it is already established, and up to you/us and the funk how we will react to it. It has and hasn't happened. We are a significant part of its happening. Check out, or don't, Love, Death, and Robots, Volume 1, and the other volumes as well, and further connect to the relations of the explanation of these calculations and observations in live and past time through communal experience of creation, feeling, and level of understanding of and how to continuously translate for the future. In a way, I must speak like a non-playable character or NPC so that I can attempt to communicate with anyone or thing potentially attempting to understand this at any point across time or space. Perhaps this can help you if you don't fully understand this current language. Translate.google.com. All right, so footnote, a little recently, from May 16th, 2024. This term came to me in a dream. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce this. Malivian. Malivian.
Close. Malivian.
Malivian.
Oh, that was
A term used to describe life as a complex and dynamic journey characterized by vibrant energy, deep emotions, and the pursuit of self-reliance and purpose while coexisting amongst and alongside the selfless in universal expansion. That is a hell of a definition for a hell of a word. I love it. May,
nice.
signifying sea of bitterness, drop of the sea, beloved, rebellious, lovable, and pearl. Representing the profound and sometimes bittersweet nature of life. Male, denoting chief, prince, bald, or monk, symbolizing leadership, growth, and the smooth journey towards toward one's destiny from young age to old age. Li implies characteristics such as degrading or reduction, dispersed state or dispersion, like in appearance, manner, or nature, characterized by regular recurrence in specified units of time, in a specified manner or at a specified time interval, from a specified point of view or with respect to a specified degree or in a specified place in a series. Livian, reflecting a desire for independence and self-reliance. Vian, connoting liveliness and energy, suggesting that life is full of vitality. I'd hope so. I don't feel it much lately. Usage, the Milevian nature of existence is evident in its blend of joy and sorrow, growth and challenge, independence and interconnectedness, recurring regularly like the changing seasons.
And so, Malivian is a term that I would use to describe, like, being, in a way. Like, all of this existence, especially life, is Malivian. It's this, again, to reread the definition. It's a complex and dynamic journey. It's characterized by vibrant energy, deep emotions, and the pursuit of self-reliance and purpose while coexisting amongst and alongside the selfless in universal expansion. All right, let us continue.
Next is a piece, some text by Joe Weirden.
And again, we've been here before, but this is how it happened in real time. And so we are returning back to it as it's happening.
Before I became an Orthodox Christian, my meaning of life was Buddhist. And quite simply, it came down to this. There must be a way to end suffering. To this day, I endeavor towards that. Who wants to suffer? But there's far more to life than that. No matter where you go, you will suffer, and that's why monks live in the harshest of conditions. Suddenly, physical suffering is all you can experience rather than something existential. That's where we realize material suffering is indeed real. Yes, there's spiritual suffering, but I don't care to proselytize on. So, my spirituality ends and begins with my Buddhist phase. Next, we come to my actualist phase, where you have an idea, you must create it. That begins and ends there. However, perhaps you lack the resources to create, nor the time. Life is funny that way, in that you get caught up in other things and mounting debts or other issues plague you. Ultimately, I found my comfort would have to be children and a family. All of my hopes and dreams are evaporating fast. It would be better to start a family and try to plant the correct seeds in their minds, rather than pursue my own endeavors, and dedicate myself to giving them a proper upbringing, and hoping that just one bit of my ideology, religion, or philosophy is still reflected in their work, and ultimately it can spread, or at the very least, these people will be raised better than I was, and will follow life better than I did, with almost no guidance. Oh, hey man, you did okay if you even think that. So that's my meaning of life. Nothing esoteric, cutting out the finer points of my religion, philosophy, and worldview. It isn't important at all. Just random musings that I had. And Sean Panalber writes, You see the rules and patterns as they are observable to you, and then you are playing your theoretical game through yes and details, RNG, and time like D&D Beyond. Seemingly, yes?
Again, that could have been worded way better. Terribly worded question. But the point still kind of semi comes across.
That's interesting. Well, it's interesting that that text gets dropped here in this location in the text. Yeah, it's weird about having kids and a family instead of your own hopes and dreams. Kind of melancholy there, a little like intense realism for some people. Yeah, I mean that's heavy stuff, but life decisions that happen at a crucial time and it changes the whole trajectory. All right. Looks like this last page here. At 4:16 in the morning still of December 9th, 2019. During the parability meditation, the most frequent and prevalent advertisement that kept playing between occasional tracks was for, quote, a container store, a place to get things to keep the stuff you gather and store one day until it becomes dusty and passed on to the next person or container and into the next box and into the next box. And when it arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer. The Emperor's New Groove. Never saw that movie. You'll put a link there. And then that idea goes into a container of film, VHS, DVD, or data, or into whatever contains that, like a DVD case or computer. And then into our homes, another container, onto a shelf, and forever, always needing a following higher container of greater storage, right? And eventually larger and smaller size forever and ever. Remember how big computers used to be? Now they can be a tiny microchip, and that microchip is the current point of size, creation, and evolution on and in the funk. And it keeps expanding. Loop. It's funny, I was thinking of George Carlin's bit about stuff from back in the day. Where are you going to put your stuff? All right. When our RAM becomes able to and further accessible to these loops or formation of loops and information of experience inside of its container-like vehicles, so such do we continue to prove the funk to be our reality and what we know of our existences within hyper-reality and beyond. And the funk is expanding faster than the speed of light, so the ability of observing all of it, understanding it, and describing it is currently difficult and seemingly impossible to do. Yes, that is correct. But if we eventually become able to transcend time and space and observe and understand the funk from within and without simultaneously, the ability to summarize or share a TLDR of all existence and non-existence becomes more accessible. Well, considering it's inaccessible now, I would hope so. When using some technologies, we experience lag or CAPTCHA tests or a mod or program blocks or attempts to post or to reach information or its storage and access, or can manipulate the past by deleting or editing data, then that process of data connection seemingly feels slowed down until it transcends again into homeostasis, or the next progression of subjective and objective functionality, equatable and transferable understanding of the funk, as through natural balance of cause and effect. It is not until it is. Eventually the lag stops, or you pass the CAPTCHA, or the mod goes away and you can post freely. Or the original information that has been deleted or edited becomes found or exposed at the source. Or these things don't happen, and that would still be your natural reality.
I think he stops there, and there's a little bit more on the page, but all it says is the funk became portal. To you, I am your Gladys, your genetic life form and disk operating system, and you are my shell, and vice versa. And in Portal 2, we are, and then that's the end of the page. That brings us now to page 191 through 200. So we are 2/3 of the way through the Funk Treatise. I didn't talk a lot in this commentary video because I think most of the stuff said at this point we've kind of already discussed multiple times over. And so I would assume that at this point, if you've been following along, that you have a deeper understanding of everything already. Now, if you're just tuning in for the first time, then you will understand it in your own way. I think that most of the stuff here, again, while it was at its time incomplete thoughts that were just being put out so that I could use them as stepping stones to come back to and go back to this information and polish it and evolve it. I still think most of it makes a good amount of sense, albeit the way it's written could be a little difficult for some to interpret. But I think Jamey did a wonderful job of interpreting what he read, and so if one person can do it outside of myself, then multiple people I trust can also do it as well. So now let's see what Jamey had to say about his pages.
Yeah. How would we know either way? Well, that is the conclusion of page 200. Overall thoughts, having not read this before, I kind of skimmed it earlier just to kind of get a sense of what you were kind of getting at here and what I was going to be reading, so I didn't totally fumble the audio. But yeah, definitely long, rambling, kind of run-on sentences that are hard to read out loud because of lack of punctuation and kind of redundancy. But other than that, I can tell you, it's like your stream of conscious just kind of just in a zone here that where these ideas are super. You're just really into these ideas and everything that they kind of mean to you, which I love.
Oh, thanks.
Anytime I see somebody like really passionate about something, I don't have to personally relate to it, understand it enough, in the same way that they do to appreciate it and respect it. And I think this is a great example of that in general for me. As someone that spends his life, his day job, working through scientific data, this is a delightful read because it's completely different than everything that I usually encounter in my day-to-day life. So it's actually just fun, just trying to read this, and on sight unseen, just as just an exercise for me too. So yeah, man. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of other thoughts because I feel like at this section of it, it looks like we're about 2/3 of the way through the entire 300 pages here. So I imagine the first 2/3 and the last third are going to have some things that are similar and some that are different. I don't know. And then some are different than that, and some are not different than that, and others are different than that, and some are the same.
He gets it.
Or they're not. All right, man. I will end this here. I hope the audio is okay, and I hope this was enjoyable. It was enjoyable for me, and I'm sorry it took so long. Cheers, brothers.
Thank you again, Jamey, for sharing your thoughts and doing this reading and participating in everything. I think you resonated pretty well with the things that it said. And if you ever do, dip back in to this treatise or anything, I'd love to hear further thoughts. And that extends to anyone and everyone. Please share your thoughts, whatever they may be. It helps this information evolve and continue, and more relatable to all of us. And that's kind of the goal, is to reach this beyond this parability and then the beyond parability. And so, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, listening, reading, existing, whatever you do. Thank you for that. I love you. And, excuse me, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And as always, the funk provides. So, peace.